Every Thursday at this time, we head on out, visit with the meat dude Spencer Wirt, taking all your meat-related questions, cuts, rubs, what to ask your butcher, what you dare not ask your butcher. He's got all the answers for us, and he joins us right now. How you doing, Spence?
Hey, Tyler, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I asked the audience to give me one word to describe this winter. That's the first question I ask you. Give me one word.
Ooh, cold?
Okay, let's say keep
I
it
don't
clean.
know.
It's a family show, man. Jeez. Yeah, that fits in.
Well, we haven't gotten the snow out here like Fargo has, so really all we've had out here is just cold.
Okay, well, we've got some of that out here as well, so I guess we got the worst of both worlds, in my opinion. Messages coming in for you. Ready for them? I'm going to take that as
Yeah.
a yes. Okay, sure. The enthusiasm just oozing today. Tyler, for the meat dude, a recommendation for making a very good tasting T-bone more tender. Then they ask, or am I hosed? So, T-bone more tender. Is it possible? What's the secret?
Yeah, with a T-bone, you're not gonna, in theory, you're not gonna marinate a T-bone, right? Because it should, as itself, already be tender. That's why it's an expensive cut. That's why it's a high-end cut. Anytime that you buy a T-bone and you're worried that it possibly isn't going to be tender, I would maybe suggest cutting it out of the bone and then marinating it, or doing something to through marination to tenderize it. I wouldn't recommend marinating it with the bone still on it. But then the question arises of why wouldn't you just buy a New York strip instead of a T-bone? There's really nothing other than you're overcooking it, or the steak is just tough. That's what it is. Not every single animal is perfect, and not every single steak is perfect. So if that does come to the point where you're not happy with it, then try something else, or your next steak might be good.
35270. That's where you send in those questions. Why would you want to remove the bone to marinade? Is it, what the difference does it make whether or not the bone's included or not?
I just with that bone in there, that's the transverse processes and vertebrae. There's just it's going to possibly just create some off flavors with what you have in your marinade reacting with the bone. I'm saying that in a safer bet would be to just get the bone out of there. You can render it down and use it for stock if you want to, utilize everything you've purchased. But to get a true marinade to do its work, both flavor and if you're trying to tenderize the meat, I would remove the bone first before you submerge the chunk of meat into it.
Well, I asked, you delivered. Appreciate that. Question comes in about the best type of cut for roast beef. A chuck tender versus bottom round is the question. Do you have a preference, a chuck tender or a bottom round when it comes to cutting for roast beef?
So anything out of the chuck tender would be a certain part of the chuck roll. That is not something that you're going to want to cook for sliced roast beef. There's too much seams. There's too much fat within the seams. Anything out of the chuck is going to be perfect for shredded beef. So in theory, yes, a chuck roast or a chuck tender, as they call it, is going to be a little more a better eating experience than a bottom round. But if you're trying to make that classic roast beef sliced, lean-ish, bottom round is a good option, or also called a rump roast once it's cut into a retail presentation.
Very good. More messages coming in for you. You got them stacking up over here today, Spencer. Tyler asked the meat dude, how often does he use a tenderizing hammer?
I don't ever use a tenderizing hammer at home. I don't even have one in my arsenal. But of course, in the small town butcher shop that we're doing all this custom work for, we do have a tenderizing machine to create cube steak, which is just a mechanically driven method of using a hammer. It's a little easy on your shoulder and elbow using that machine than hammering it out. But I don't very often or at all at home use the tenderizing hammer.
You use injections much?
I really don't. I've played around with them over the years with my barbecuing. just to try to get a little more flavor within, if you're cooking a whole chunk of meat, trying to get some of that salt and sugar within the muscles. But in all reality, I've just learned over the past however many years I've been doing this that your cooking methods are almost more important than whatever you're putting on it or whatever you're injecting it with. You can create an awesome dish just by your cooking methods and kind of knowing how to control everything within your realm that you can create an awesome dish without having to take all these extra steps.
That's where I fall short regularly. It's if it's coming down to method instead of disguising, boy, I'm in a world of hurt. Tyler, can you repeat the process of cooking brisket? And that's going to lead into a question that I had about brisket, but the process of cooking brisket comes in.
All right. First, we were salt, pepper, garlic is my go-to, just a basic rub on the outside. You don't want anything fancy because you let the brisket, you let the protein, you let the meat be the star of the show. We're putting it onto a smoker at anywhere from 180 to 200 degrees with heavy smoke for the first 6 to 8 hours. And you can let your grill get a little hotter than that. I'm going to change my mind and say 180 to 220 is going to be that temperature range you're going to want your grill at. After that 6th to 7th hour, or even pushing into 8th, you want to temp it and see where it's sitting. Hopefully by that time your brisket at the thickest point is up to close that 165 to 180 degrees. If it's up to that point, you're going to take it off the smoker, wrap it in tin foil. We also talked about that pink butcher paper, I think, a month ago. Wrap it in something to trap the humidity around it. You're going to put it back on the grill. Depending on what your temperature of that product is, you might need to ramp up the temperature. Timing comes into play here at this point. And you're wanting that brisket internal temperature to be close to 200. That's when that collagen of the brisket's going to start breaking down to get that tender brisket slice that you're wanting. Now, there's a such thing as overcooking a brisket where you'll essentially just create shredded beef because you broke down the collagen too much. So that temperature monitoring, getting to know your grill and cooking machine, I guess, whatever you want to call it, to kind of get a feel for how fast things ramp up is probably the first and most important step. I've cooked briskets as long as 14 hours, and I've got them done as short as 10. So there's some give and take there, but what's important is monitoring the temperature.
So I appreciate all these messages coming with this one asking about the brisket, because you can go to a restaurant and you can order a brisket, and then there'll be a Texas brisket. I mean, is there something that defines one as a Texas brisket versus just any other brisket?
I think it's kind of plays in along to the every region of the United States has their own specialty and their own almost spice. They just have what they're good at, right? There's Carolina barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, Texas barbecue. In Texas, the brisket is their go-to. So I'm not positive that on a menu Texas brisket means anything other than marketing.
Right.
But that's kind of where the brisket got famous and where it's probably most popular.
One more message I think I got time for you. Tyler, could you ask Spencer, sear a steak first or a reverse sear comes in?
I think it's cooker's choice. I think reverse searing, I've seen a lot better results with an even distribution of color through the steak. But I've had a lot of success searing first and then cooking. What you'll run into is you'll just get a little more further cooked on the outside edge compared to reverse searing. So they're both great methods to cook with, and they're pretty much the only two when it comes to cooking a steak. And I think sous vide has really taken the reverse searing to a whole nother level when you're able to sous vide a steak and then just sear it to get a crust. So again, whatever's in your cooking arsenal and whatever you're able to do. So.
Okay, I got time for one more. This one comes in as well at 35270. Spencer Worth, the meat dude, every Thursday at this time. What's your favorite way to cook or barbecue ribs?
With ribs, it's the 3-2-1 method that is always my go-to, and that's 3 hours of heavy smoke at a low temperature, 2 hours wrapped, and then it doesn't take an hour, but it's easy to remember 3-2-1. Then that last hour is just to make sure you bring it up to temp, and bring it up to pork is about 180 to 185 is when the collagen starts breaking down with pork. So I've had a lot of success with that. I even got my wife now cooking ribs with the 3-2-1 method if I'm too busy at work. She's knocking it out of the park. So it's kind of a foolproof rib cooking method.
There we are. Spencer, anything else before I let you go this week, man? You had them stacked up. They're ready for you this week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, hey, man, you take care. We'll chat again next Thursday, all right?
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Yep. Have a good one. Spencer Wirt, the meat dude. Again, every Thursday at this time. He's out at New Salem.
See, the worst part about this segment is, if I eat about 11, then Fat Boy's already hungry. So this guys start talking about this type of thing, and then I don't think I'll get the grill going today.
I know. There's some people. It doesn't matter how cold and how much snow there is. They're moving to get that grill on that deck, and they're utilizing. I've had a couple of bad times when I've tried to grill in this cold temp. To where I'm just,
it steams up quite a bit. I'll say that.
It steams up. And you know what? It seems like the flames catch a little bit higher, a little bit more quickly.
Yeah.
So
melts the snow off the cover and all that. So,
there was one time I think somebody's mentioned about a T-bone. I think that's what I was trying to cook once, and this was back when I was apartment living. So I'm like, whatever. I mean, the deck's right there. I don't have to go across.
Right.
I could literally slide the door open, and I was panicked. Let's just say. And
it's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, to where, oh my God, I'm going to be responsible for all of this. Luckily, nothing happened, and except for charring that steak. You talk about a sear. That was like a charcoal steak.
Yeah, that's never a good feeling, is it? I mean, all of a sudden something gets away from you. I remember being a kid lighting fireworks one time, and it was a little bit of a panicky moment there that we're going to lose the forest.
Yeah, like your heart goes into your stomach, and you just... that adrenaline, it's just, it's a terrible feeling. And it takes so long. I mean, by the time that was happening, I had already lost my appetite. I didn't even want to eat the steak that was seared.
Yeah, I always like the pictures of the guys who are kind of lighting up their grill, and all of a sudden they can't get it, and they keep on striking, all of a sudden, poof, and
that happened to one of our coworkers. That was a cookout here not long ago.
Oh, that's true. Yes, this fall. Yes.
Yeah, this fall.
I won't mention any names.
No, but he does have a show from 8 to 11 weekdays.
I know someone when we were growing up, he didn't know how much gas he had in the snowmobile, so he thought he'd stick a lighter in there and see.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We had a neighbor growing up.
He didn't have eyebrows all winter.
I'm glad that was it.
Yeah, right.
By the way, if you have somebody that loses their eyebrows, it's very tough to tell what emotional state they're in. Are they happy? Are they angry? They have no eyebrows. The facial expression relies on eyebrows, I've learned. We had a neighbor try to decided, okay, well, it's time to mow the lawn. It was dark out and did the same thing. Nothing happened, but got the lighter out to see how much gas was in there.
Well, and
maybe just wait till the sunlight tomorrow.
All joking aside, you find out quickly, and it's a scary thing how flammable fumes are. And that's. Unfortunately, there's been too many tragedies because of that. So.
Don't do that.
No.
That's your lesson for today. Let's get you caught up with KFGO News. Check in with Rusty Halverson. I'm going to talk about the woman that was arrested for slapping a cop's butt this week. Facing up to 6 years? A little over the top, don't you think? We'll discuss that and more coming up right after this.
KFGO News, partly sunny and 6 below. I'm Paul Jerkins. A Belcourt, North Dakota man has been sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for a carjacking in Fargo. 32-year-old John Poitras approached someone who had just parked their pickup near 6th Avenue and 8th Street North last March. He demanded the keys and threatened to stab the owner. Police spotted Poitras driving the pickup the wrong way on 10th Street South. He refused to stop and collided with 2 vehicles. Fargo police and the North Dakota Highway Patrol followed Poitras eastbound on I-94. He was eventually stopped by Clay County deputies. Poitras pleaded guilty. A Halstead, Minnesota man remains in jail on assault and burglary charges after a nearly 2-hour law enforcement search in Halstead, north of Moorhead, yesterday afternoon. Norman County Sheriff Jeremy Thornton tells KFGO News Jeremy Coste assaulted a woman in her apartment.
The victim and the suspect both, they were in a relationship they're in an on and off relationship. So they're well known to each other. They've known each other for quite a period of time.
Thornton says the victim was treated on scene and then flown to Fargo by Sanford AirMed. He says she was speaking with first responders. Coastie was arrested at another apartment building where he assaulted a man who was not seriously hurt. It was thought that shots had been fired, but Thornton says it turned out that someone lit off fireworks while the search was underway for Coastie. 6 below, this is KFGO News. Six below, this is KFGO News. One of two people injured in a small plane crash in McLeod County, Minnesota, has died. Dr. Richard Jolkowski died of injuries he suffered Monday afternoon when the small plane went down south of Hutchinson. The 61-year-old CentraCare cardiologist was the pilot. A 24-year-old passenger remains hospitalized in stable condition. The plane left Flying Cloud Airport in Eden Prairie before crashing in a rural part of the county. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are investigating. The latest from St. Paul, where Minnesota Senate Republicans have introduced a $65 million proposal to recruit new police officers.
Senator Paul Gazelka says a portion of the proposal includes guaranteed one-year bonuses for new officers.
But it's $10,000 that they can get 1 year later, and we're going to have $20 million available for this so that we have the opportunity to hire a bunch of new police officers.
The police recruitment proposal includes money for tuition reimbursement, scholarships, and opportunities for non-traditional entrance into policing.
That's reporter Adam Carter. MnDOT is announcing the winners of the 2022 Name a Snowplow contest. They include Betty Whiteout, Control Salt Delete, and the Big Leplowski. The Detroit Lakes Maintenance District winner is Plowsaurus Rex. Others are Scoop Dog, Blizzard of Oz, No More Mr. Ice Guy, and Edward Blizzard Hands. Nearly 60,000 names were submitted for the second annual contest. Windshield Advisory now in effect until noon tomorrow. Fargo-Moorhead this afternoon. We expect increasing cloudiness, about 4 below for the high. Cloudy, breezy overnight, a chance of light snow. There may be some blowing snow, steady or slowly rising temperatures. Only about 4 above, though, tomorrow, partly sunny, some morning blowing snow. Mostly cloudy, wind picks up Saturday, a chance of light snow, blowing snow, 28. 6 degrees, partly sunny on Sunday, and Monday, partly sunny, near 27. Fargo-Moorhead, it's partly sunny and 6 below. Paul Juergens, News Radio KFGO.
Rusty Halverson in the KFGO studio. Hi, buddy.
Good afternoon, sir.
It is a good afternoon. It's my Friday today.
Yeah, congrats.
I'm not going to rub that in too often.
That's fun.
Congrats. Thanks. I've been asking. Here's the question. I said, look, I want one word to describe this winter.
Yep.
Your one word, and it's a family-friendly show, as you're aware.
Family-friendly. My initial response was, you would normally use a pitchfork to move it around. I'm going to settle on the word tedious. It's been tedious this winter.
Well, somebody did throw in something that which is, you finish that. This one, I had to look it up because somebody said Brass Monkey, and all I thought was the Beastie Boys, the song Brass Monkey. Yeah. You want to go
Funky
on?
Monkey.
Apparently, this is the term brass monkey is used to refer to extremely cold weather and expressions. I had no idea. That totally changes.
Really?
I mean, I haven't looked up the lyrics. I don't know the lyrics to Beastie Boys' Brass Monkey. Derek Hansen probably does. He's blasting that all the time. And
With my ghetto blaster.
Yeah. With this boombox over his right shoulder when he's riding his bike through town.
Yep. Going out to our tree fort. Yep. Good time.
I had no idea. So thanks for texting that in. Now I could actually use that term and stump other people, perhaps.
No, I didn't know about that term.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, just let that. Is that how you danced in
Yeah.
Williston?
This
So-
might be the new underbed for
Yeah.
Rusty every time.
Just. A whole new meaning thanks to the texting audience here of Afternoons Live.
That's so weird.
Okay. True story. All right. Cattle industry. The convention going
Yeah.
on, and I noticed it's not in Fargo like
No.
who was it? The Sunflower Boys and
Yeah,
Girls?
yeah,
I keep
those-
coming back. Sorry to all you sunflower growers out there, but you got cattle, you could be down in Houston, which I think they were
Yeah.
having some weather this week as well. but-
Yep. My sources down there, shall we say, talked about rain and wind yesterday because I would love to be there simply if I could have golf clubs, but it would have not been
Not
golfing weather. Yeah.
Well, then I guess I shouldn't say, hey, congratulations. You got it down to Houston, Texas.
Yeah. But the
They're indoors anyway.
Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show underway in Houston, and exports are one of the topics of conversation. And U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Hallstrom says while the final numbers aren't out quite yet, the industry has seen record numbers. Yeah, they've got reason to be upbeat.
Yeah, I would say record numbers.
Yeah,
Always good.
yeah.
Record numbers. You know what? There's something else I want to talk about when it comes to cattle industry, when it comes to beef. We just had the meat dude on.
Yeah.
A little bit later on, let's talk about that JBS. Apparently there's a settlement,
Yeah.
perhaps. Lawsuits, maybe the first of a few.
Court in Minneapolis, Reuters News reporting that JBS kind of getting their wrist slapped a little bit.
Yeah, that's all. I think I saw the dollar amount and I saw what their profits were last year. I think they just took out a check and said, here you go.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Leave us alone now, but we'll talk about that later on, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
You come back for audibles, too.
Oh, Roger.
We got
Yep.
that. J.J. Gordon put it together today, so.
Yeah, Roger that.
I got a message. Brass Monkey is a cocktail with Old English and a Old English 40 ounce, so the 40.
Isn't
And
Old
orange
English
juice.
a cologne?
I'm guessing.
You're thinking brute.
Oh.
I think it's
Brute is a
it's safe to say that's what the Beastie Boys are singing about, not
And not cold weather?
Right.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case. Brute or Stetson is what's on your mind. Old English to 40.
Yeah.
All right, Rusty, appreciate it.
You bet.
CBS National News on the way. By the way, if you want to check out more of Rusty Alverson's work, Sarah Heinrich, KFGO.com. You just click on that agriculture tab. CBS National News, when we come back, let's talk about, out in western North Dakota, or by Bismarck, a woman slapped a cop on the butt. Now she was arrested, facing up to 6 years. Let's talk about that when we come back right here on KFGO. I see what you did there, Derek Hansen. With the police.
Yeah.
They didn't think that Sandra Sabo's move was magic.
No. Could have done "Don't Stand So Close to Me."
Okay, here, let me set the stage for you.
But that was kind of the theme of 2020, wasn't it?
Zing. Jeez. You had your Wheaties today? You get well rested? What? Took a nap
I
after
did my,
the Jack Michaels show?
I did my meditation nap after the Jack Michaels show, yes.
Well,
Which
it's showing.
Which I'm known to do.
You wear it
I'm
well.
trying to teach Joel how to do this because he kind of gets in this yawning thing. But he's afraid that he'll fall asleep for an hour. I said, no, you don't even sleep. So he just doesn't.
Yeah,
it's a huge thing.
Stare off at the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Take a break, man. Okay, so Burleigh County, Bismarck.
Yeah.
Just north of Bismarck is where this incident happened. Two Burleigh County sheriff officers were conducting a bar check when a woman, the 50-year-old Sandra Sabo, jogged up to one of the officers and slapped him on the butt. And that's what the affidavit is saying. The slap caused the officer pain, so we took her into custody, according to the document. The woman called the officer a sexy cop. I don't know I should be laughing at this, but so this woman runs over, sees these two police officers just coming. They weren't there to, by what I gathered, arrest anybody. They're just, hey, it's a bar check. Sometimes you have the cops show up, hey, everybody's behaving. Everybody over here is over 21, right? All is on the up and up when it comes to the eyes of the law. This is what these two sheriffs are doing. And a woman apparently thought one was cute, runs over and slaps him on the butt, says, hey, you're a sexy cop. And it goes on that she says that she loves a man in uniform and that she couldn't believe that she was going to jail for slapping a sexy cop in the
derriere.
Yeah, I didn't even finish the rest there. But okay. This is where it gets just ridiculous for me. She is facing almost up to 6 years in prison because if she's convicted on both charges. The charges being, and I'm trying to find it right here, because you have, I think, what's being termed as sexual assault. Peace officer, sexual assault for offensive contact, a misdemeanor. The charges stem from the earlier incident that happened, a felony count of simple assault against a peace officer. So you got a simple assault charge, that's a felony, and a sexual assault for offensive contact, which is a misdemeanor. Easy for me to say today. Up to 6 years for this. I mean, we talk about how much expense it is for people to be in jail for a variety of things. This seems aggressive if, in fact, she does get charged and she does get convicted on both these charges. And I get it, it's one of those people who are already texting in saying, hey, he's well within his right to press these charges. But don't you think it's just a little over the top in the climate of everything going on? When you have the lack of resources as far as, the jail space at times, we're crowded jails across the country, and you're going to put somebody in. I know she's out. I believe she was able to get bond, but it just, do you have to? I mean, I'm not saying you just look the other way, but a slap on the wrist for some things that have gone on that are much worse. I think about, say, in South Dakota, where you got an attorney general that got a slap on the wrist.
That's a heck of a comparison.
That's apples and oranges, but he's getting off with, a $1,500 fine for what he did, and this woman's faces up to 6 years?
Yeah,
it's over the top.
It's a total, does the crime justify, right? I mean, does the punishment fit the crime type of thing? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. The actual assaulting, we do want laws on the books that are going to really make sure that we protect officers from getting assaulted, right?
Well, I love my law enforcement officers. Yeah. I think we've stood up quite well for them over the course of the last few years that I've been in this chair, regardless of, all the conversation going on when it comes to law enforcement in general about training when it comes to just the perception. Right. I think we've been on the side. This one, to me, this reeks that there's maybe more to the story. Maybe there's a history. There just seems like there's got to be something more to than just getting a slap on the butt, saying, hey, you're a sexy cop, and then arresting. I mean, how hard was the slap, I guess, is another question.
Well, yeah, and it kind of goes back to something you and I were talking about off the air. Will there be a real assault on police on January 6th, or going back to the summer of 2020 with all the protests that we had going on after what happened in Minneapolis with Derek Chauvin.
And you throw all those
guys
and gals in jail.
I know law enforcement officials that were down in the Twin Cities were told to go down, and some of the stuff that they had to endure.
Yep.
And they didn't even dare, they couldn't even arrest anyone at that time because that would lead to hold. And what they had to go through, it just seems kind of like this is trying to prove a point.
See, that's what like. Do you understand that I'm wearing the badge type thing, and you can't? It's just.
Eventually, I hope they drop some of the charges.
Her conduct, stupid, silly. We don't know what levels of intoxication it was inside of a bar, but
I have a good idea if you're going up to a police officer.
I imagine, especially
that.
if you're jogging across the bar, as what was described. Tyler, I'm in utter disbelief about a woman slapping an officer and facing 6 years. Okay, it is wrong. Sorry, the officer felt the need to file charges, but whatever, that's his right, I guess. But this is the penalty when we have rapists and gun threats getting out. Makes me furious. If she were a cute young lady, it would be a non-issue. Comes in at 35270. More messages. Tyler, I remember when cops were a lot tougher. See, and I don't want to blanket. I love law enforcement. I don't even want to repeat that one more time for you. I think if you're a regular listener, you know where we've stood during this program for everything that's gone on. This just seems aggressive, I think, is the term that I'll use one more time. That inappropriate, sure, but the need to arrest and then have these charges placed, it just I can't get on board.
Well,
I can't.
It is interesting though. And we know, I think this is a justified double standard. If I did that to a gal who looked good as a police officer, it's going to be a different story, right? I don't think and I actually don't mind that double standard, because I don't think you want a guy like me going up and slapping any woman without her wanting it. Correct. On the derriere. And maybe some people disagree with that, but I think we kind of understand why.
Oh, come on now. This is totally messed up. Comes in at 35270. That's the Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. What's messed up? Her jogging across, slapping him on the butt, calling him cute? Because, that is a little bit. Or the charges? Both? Perhaps. We'll continue the conversation right after this weather update. Tooth-Tall Tom Schmansky, well, I'm going to tell you it's kind of like a broken record when it comes to the forecast. It's going to be cold, but he'll tell you some more details. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of Afternoons Live. At the top of the hour, Castleton, they're talking about a development, soybean. There's farmers out there eager for this. I understand. Residents, they've got some reservations towards it. We'll have them explain that to you at 3 o'clock. I'm Tyler Axidus. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you, Tom. 6 below here at KFGO.
About 5 minutes removed from the top of the hour. 3 o'clock, we'll get your national news headlines with CBS. Paul Jurgens in that KFGO News Center will get you all your local headlines. Then we're heading to Castleton. And I think I made reference to this on Tuesday's show, in which I had said we had reached out to the economic development coordinator in Castleton and hadn't been able to get contacted. And they did reach out, so I want to throw this out there, and we'll try to get their side later on. But they were out of the office this week, so we'll try to tell that side of the story. But we're going to tell the side of some residents that are concerned, not with the facility itself and the operations and the good that it would do, but the placement and the size and what that might do for their housing and all of that when it comes to taxes, when it comes to infrastructure. So that's coming up in a little bit. In the meantime, we're talking about the fact that there's a woman that was arrested out north of Bismarck for slapping a cop on the butt, calling him cute, or a sexy cop. And the fact that she could be facing up to 6 years if she's convicted on both charges, excessive to me. And that's what's coming in the text club as well. Tyler, I agree the lady was wrong to slap the officer, but the charges seem excessive. The officer should have used a better officer discretion, in my opinion. Nothing I disagree with there. And we were talking, obviously, is there a double standard here? And that if it were, somebody like, not to throw him back under the bus, but since he brought it on himself, my producer for today, Derek Hansen, going up and slapping a female, we're both we're in agreement on that. You know what? Yeah, then charge the dude. I don't know if why, but that seems like a double standard that we're both in agreement on, and I guess that's the way of the world.
Yeah.
Call me a hypocrite if you must. Yeah, I'll take that.
I think it's legitimate, because, unfortunately, it is one of those things where I think it is much more acceptable. I wouldn't care, but I would understand if a gal would care if I did it.
Yep, completely agree.
Yeah.
Tyler puts a whole new meaning in to Can't Touch This. The World Women's Connection hotline will be on him. Way too sensitive. Comes on. Tyler, so the deputy in Alexandria that rolled his police car gets a slap on the wrist, but she's facing 6 years. That's messed up.
Wow.
Bingo. Nailed it. I mean, the fact that sheriff of Hennepin County was toying with the idea of running for re-election. He was, well, sure. I rolled my squad car that's provided by the county because I blew a .1 whatever. Guy who was at a sheriff's convention. He called, I believe, a taxi to see how late the bars were open in Alexandria. Yeah, and he was going to get just a slap on the wrist. I mean, quite frankly, he has. I think he was suspended. And it's thanks for bringing that one up. And I know earlier I brought up the whole attorney general in South Dakota as far as what he did, distracted driving. I mean, we have been all over that story. And the fact that he just had to pay a $1,500 fine and still is the attorney general of South Dakota is ridiculous. When we come back, we're heading to Castleton. You got to locked into KFGO Fargo. 3:05 KFGO time. Here's what's trending on this day. Probably have been seeing it. The Masked Singer. Can't believe this is actually a show. I mean, who watches this? Nobody I know. But apparently, what is this, like season 3, 4? It's too dang long. There's been too many seasons, but that must mean somebody's watching it.
Oh, for sure.
Rudy Giuliani was revealed. America's mayor.
Are you serious?
Rudy Giuliani. So, a spoiler, if you're one of those few that are watching this show in the upcoming season, Rudy's going to be revealed.
Yeah, I had it on DVR.
Yeah, well, I just ruined it. Shame on me. Caused some of the judges to get on up and walk on out because it's Rudy Giuliani. What song do you think Rudy Giuliani sang with a mask on his face?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably,
I'm not going to find out.
New York by Sinatra.
Either way, it caused a protest. Sarah Palin was on this too, so it's not like they've shied away from having some political figures. But Rudy, come on. All right, that's what's trending today all over your social media. When we come back, though, we're heading to Castleton. I know our news team and our farm and ranch team were some of the best, or first to bring you the story about the North Dakota Soybean Processors LLC out in Castleton. They're going to expect to crush 42.5 million bushels of soybeans in the first year. We're going to talk with some of the residents out there that say, look, we're okay with this project, but can we move it over there? That's right after this KFGO News.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy now, 6 below. I'm Paul Juergens. North Dakota Attorney General Wayne Stenjum has been remembered at his funeral service in Bismarck. Stenjum unexpectedly died last week in the final months of what would have been his last term in office. He was the longest-serving Attorney General in state history. Family and friends look back on Stenjum's life today with fondness, humor, and respect in front of a large crowd of mourners, including current and former staffers, law enforcement, and elected officials. Former Insurance Commissioner Jim Poolman remembered Stenjum's deep connections in all corners of the state.
Of course, on the campaign trail, Wayne claimed Mulhall as his hometown. Unless he was in Bismarck, or Grand Forks, or El Cabo, or Stanley, or Williston, it was a total shtick. Every town we went to was his hometown, and people ate it up. He legitimately felt that everywhere in North Dakota was his hometown.
The service ended with an end-of-watch roll call of the state's law enforcement agencies. A man was seriously hurt at a rollover on a Ransom County highway overnight. The state patrol says 25-year-old Jesse Schultz of Enderle lost control of his car about a mile north of Sheldon at around 2 this morning. Schultz was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected during the rollover. It is believed Schultz laid in the ditch for about 3 hours until he was found. The temperature was an estimated 22 below zero. He was first taken to the hospital in Lisbon and then to Essentia Health in Fargo. In addition to the injuries from the crash, Schultz was suffering from exposure to the cold. He was cited for DUI. A Belcourt, North Dakota man has been sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for carjacking in Fargo. 32-year-old John Poitras approached someone who had just parked their pickup near 6th Avenue and 8th Street North last March. He demanded the keys and threatened to stab the owner. Police spotted Poitras driving the pickup the wrong way on 10th Street South. He refused to stop and collided with 2 vehicles. Fargo police and the North Dakota Highway Patrol followed Poitras eastbound on I-94. He was eventually stopped by Clay County deputies. Poitras pleaded guilty. And the Thunderbirds will return to Grand Forks Air Force Base in June. The Air Force's premier aerial demonstration team will perform at the Northern Thunder Air and Space Expo on June 18th. It'll be the first time since 2010 that the base has played host to the Thunderbirds. The event is free and open to the public. The Thunderbirds were scheduled to appear at the base in 2020, but the event was canceled because of COVID-19 restrictions. Windshield Advisory now until noon tomorrow. Fargo-Moorhead, we're starting to see those clouds move in as forecast by meteorologist Tom Shamansky in the KFGO Weather Center. Clouds tonight then, chances of light snow, some blowing snow in open country. We may see a high this afternoon of 4 below yet. We are at 6 below now. And again, overnight temperatures holding steady, slowly rising. Tomorrow, partly sunny, only 4 above. For Saturday, mostly cloudy, windy, a chance of light snow, some blowing snow perhaps, and 28. Again, 6 below. Paul Juergens, News Radio KFGO.
3:10 Thursday afternoon. Thanks for keeping it locked into KFGO. I'm Tyler Axis, your host. Derek Hansen behind the board. I'll be with you till 5 o'clock. We're going to dive into a topic at hand out in Castleton. I know our farm and ranch team were some of the first to break this proposal of having a soybean processing plant. Just, do I dare say, in Castleton or next to Castleton? Because I'm looking at maps here, and it seems like it's pretty much inside city limits here. And that's the topic, because you've got to this proposal, you've got people that have called Castleton home, they've got businesses there that are saying, look, do we need it right where it is located here? And that's the conversation we're going to have right now. Joining me in studio is Stacy Link. Stacy, appreciate you coming in. How are you?
I am well. Thanks for having us.
Very good. And Greg Kemple, no stranger to KFGO. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing wonderful.
Thanks for coming in. Derek had your back up there with some Chicago for you.
Oh, man, he's a rock star.
The guy knows his audience. I wanted to have you both in because I'd seen on social media, quite frankly, a yard sign, which is, if you're streaming us on YouTube, KFGO.com, wherever, you can see that is a Castleton Citizens for Responsible Growth. And it caught my attention because obviously we're in this development phase. There's people saying we need to do a number of things, job creation, but there's also the proximity here. So I don't even know necessarily where to begin. Stacy, I'll start with you because I believe this is, as far as a resident of the community, explain what this development would do.
Yeah, this is a very concerning project to a lot of our residents in Castleton, just because of where it is proposed to be. It's too close. So we formed a group of people, about 30 individuals from Castleton. They are also concerned, and we are the Castleton Citizens for Responsible Growth. We are not against what this plant wants to do. We are strictly against where it's proposed to be, which is right up against the city limits of Castleton.
And I think that's an important place to start. Is it's not about the project itself.
No.
I mean, when we think about the value added to agriculture, with farmers excited about this, the potential just growth, and what we can do right in the state here, it's not about that. It's about the placement, is quite frankly what I'm gathering.
Correct. This could be a phenomenal thing to add for our agricultural friends, absolutely. But it needs to be done right. If it's going to be done, do it so that it's not hurting anybody, but it's benefiting all.
So when you say you're hurting anybody, explain that to me. Are you talking about taxes? Are you talking about, just walk me through that if you can.
Well, there's a number of things that people are concerned about. The pollution, number one, the smell, the sight, all the lights that are going to be on it. The sound of this is going to be so close within the city limits. You're going to hear it. And also the safety. This plant is proposing 200 to 300 semi-trucks a day coming in and hauling soybeans to it. But they're also anticipating 600 during harvest a day. That's a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
We have a state-of-the-art school. We are a family-oriented community. That's a lot of trucks to be around our community, we feel.
Greg, you are a part of this group as well, both resident and business owner
yes.
here. So explain your. Do I say opposition or do I say just concern?
Well, we're organizing, and a lot of it is in a community. You know, what is a community? It is the backbone of an area. You know, when someone needs help sandbagging their house because there's a flood, you know, the community helps out. When there's a fire, people help out. When there's a fundraiser needed, it helps out. This is something new where, you know what, we don't need this so close to town, right on the outskirts of town. You know what, our kids love to play ball. Our kids love to go to the pool. They don't need to have that smell. They don't need to have the traffic. We are already at gridlock at between 7:30 in the morning and at 5:30 at night. And if we add another 50 to 100 semis coming through town, wow.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need 3 lanes of road going through Castleton.
Tyler, I think it's important, too, that we really wanted to get the message out to the people of Castleton because we feel that so many they're uninformed of what is actually happening. This was not something that this plant came to our city officials or our township board, our board members, and had the conversation with them first. We heard the same way everybody else did on the news release from the governor's office that this plant was coming literally in our backyard. We didn't have the opportunity for any input or suggestions on a different location.
And that's what I was kind of alluding to on Tuesday when I saw that this group was forming, and I wondered that because I think about other instances, and they're apples and oranges. I don't want to say what industry, but there's that not in my backyard mentality. Sure, we were fine with what the facility, what the establishment would do, just not right here. And I always wonder the communication before, and it sounds like there wasn't really any when it comes to residents saying, would you want this here or not?
I think there still isn't any communication.
No, it's lacking. Yeah,
we're hearing bits and pieces anecdotally that nobody's talked to us yet, and so we're making a list of people we're going to make sure we talk to and say, you know what, this is not right.
The other thing, it has not formally come in front of the city to be rezoned. This plot of land is currently an agricultural zoned piece of property. It needs to be rezoned for heavy industry. It has not. They have not gone through the proper permitting yet to pass those things. Okay. And that's going to come from our city council. Our city council in Castleton is going to have that say of rezoning that.
Have they given any indication where they land on this? I mean, because like you say, I read the governor's release as well, saying, hey, this is a great development. And I don't think anybody's disagreeing with the product and what could be done. It's just, again, where it's located. And it seemed like, look, we've got the economic development, we got the commission. It seemed as though those in official capacities were all on board, but it might not be that way, is what I'm gathering.
Well,
we don't know. We
don't know. We had been told from them that they needed 3 components, and this location provided that. This provided a short line rail that comes up from the south. Okay. There is natural gas available, and they need water. This plant needs 900,000 gallons of water a day. Now, according to people, they haven't maybe quite figured out that whole water component yet, but it's not something that I feel like they're too concerned about. They've already gotten approval for $3 million from the county for roads, because all the roads out there are gravel roads, and so they're going to need a hard surface roads. So they've gotten that approval already.
So the ball's been rolling, is what we're hearing. Yep. Stacey Link, my guest, Greg Kemple. We're talking about this is Castleton Citizens for Responsible Government, and people are pointing out this is close to the ethanol plant, the Thoroldton ethanol plant that is there. And they're saying, well, I mean, does that already have gas? Does it have trucks? I mean, that's what I'm getting in the text clip.
That's a few miles out of town.
Okay,
it's outside our area. Whereas this, you're going to be teeing off on number 4 at the golf course, right next to the plant.
This plant will be a mile closer to town than what the ethanol plant is.
Okay. And I have a map here that was provided for me, and I should ask this now because I'm going to take a break. Yep. We'll come back here. As far as, do you have a website for information or Facebook page that you want to get out?
Yes, currently we're just working off of our Facebook page. It's the Castleton Citizens for Responsible Growth. And the admins for the Facebook page are really good about putting some new content and information out there and starting a dialogue with people that have questions.
Very good. You got a little bit more time for me? We're just getting started here. Stacey Link, Greg Kemple, my guests. We're talking about the Castleton soybean plant proposed that's coming up right now. I'm Tyler Axis. You got it locked in to KFGO Fargo. Folks, we're a week away from Giving Hearts Day, and one of the organizations I want you to consider supporting is the Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Red River Valley right here in Fargo. They provide comfort, the comforts of home, the support of families who have a child in the hospital, and as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, that's much more expensive providing that care for a child. But the Ronald McDonald House ensures families traveling those long distances to get their child critical medical care have that warm meal, a comfortable bed, and just quite frankly, the accommodations needed, and to focus on what matters most, which is their sick child. Over the course of almost 4 years, the Nelson family stayed at the Ronald McDonald House for 91 nights, for example. So this is a story you're going to want to think about. While their youngest son, Lawson, received treatment for cancer. And while at the Ronald McDonald's House, they found comfort, the encouragement to keep fighting, and quite frankly, they found a community, and that's all done in part because of your donations on Giving Hearts. So you can support families like the Nelsons by choosing the Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Red River Valley. Giving Hearts Day, again, that's a week from today. GivingHeartsDay.org. That's Thursday, February 10th. Look up the Ronald McDonald House and consider a charitable donation. Thanks for keeping it locked in to Afternoons Live. My guest right now is Stacy Link, Greg Kemple, Castleton Citizens for Responsible Growth, talking about this proposed refinery here. And a lot of people listening out there, people wondering, for example, how long you've known about the plant.
This has been a rumor around for more than a year, I would say. And it kind of started when the Spiritwood plant from the Minnesota growers, processing growers, who is one of the companies that are joining with the proposed plant in Castleton. When that didn't kind of pan out, we kind of heard rumblings that they were maybe looking around the Castleton area. It wasn't until probably about last spring that people around in the township area started seeing some activity out on that piece of property. They were surveying and soil sampling, and then there was about a group of 14 pickup trucks one morning parked, and they were contractors bidding the project. Well, they wouldn't say what the project was, but we all knew better
based on the rumors that. Yeah. Another one, I've got so many, but this one points out, well, if they put it out a few miles and the city grows, what's the difference? You're still going to butt up against it. You guys' response to that, Greg, Stacy?
Go ahead.
Well, I think that that would be the choice of the town then. We're not really being given a choice right now. It's just they're saying that it's going to go here, and the city is already there. We can only hope that Castleton grows, and that would be fantastic, but...
So ultimately, in the little bit of time I got, listen, we'll do this again. And as I've said, I know I've got people in the Castleton decision-making officials that are listening, and I appreciate that because we're going to give you an equal opportunity here.
They can join our group too.
I'm sure some of them probably have feelings as well.
Yep.
But my question is, this group's formed. You're organizing and trying to inform. What's the goal you wish to attain through this group?
No. Go ahead.
Well, I would say that the plant gets moved to a more appropriate area.
Okay.
It's just too close. It is so close to Castleton, plain and simple.
Exactly, and that's nobody's against this. It's a great idea, but you know what? We like our Castleton Reservoir. We like our kids playing ball. We like our kids going to the pool. We like our nice, clean air.
Well, and
Yeah,
that's
and we don't need stench.
there was I'm trying to find it here. That somebody was said that they live in West Fargo. They use the as a user of the Castleton Reservoir from West Fargo. Can I join your movement? Save the res. That place draws tourism, is what's coming into the text club as well. These plants take water. Where are they planning on getting the water? Is the question that comes in. I'm not sure if you guys have an answer for that yet.
I don't have what we've been kind of told and heard that it needs to be piped in from this part of the area,
Sure.
From the West Fargo area. But we have not heard.
One thing that I want to add to this conversation, because we think about development, we think about what it costs to do that, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's about tax breaks, what that might do to valuations. I mean, is that a topic you guys have been?
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that we're concerned about because this company is asking for a 100% 10-year tax abatement. And this is a $350 million plant. So our schools, our township is not going to be getting any of that. And that's unfortunate. You want to, I just believe that corporations need to be team players. You want to come to our community, you need to be a good neighbor. And asking to not pay your fair share, that's not right.
So people want to learn more. You said that there's a Facebook page. Are you hoping to take a step forward when it comes to we've got surveys, we've got petitions? I'm just kind of curious. I know what we're hoping that what you're saying the end goal is. Let's move this maybe a mile or two. But what is it going to take from Castleton residents to get there that you're hoping for?
I think just inform yourselves. Get out and talk to your neighbor and get some information on what's really happening, and then visit with your city council members. We need to have that conversation, and if they don't know what our concerns are, they can't help us. And it can be a very nice, friendly conversation.
Greg?
I think the big thing is everybody thought this was a done deal already. It's not. The Cass County Commission is going to have to give up a lot of tax breaks from the residents of Fargo and West Fargo and rural Cass County. Castle City Council will be put on the spot, and the school board in Central Cass is going to be put on the spot. So it's time to say, you know what, we need to look at this very thorough.
Very good. Greg, I'm out of time. Stacey, I'm out of time. I appreciate it. Well, this obviously just getting started here as far as conversation goes. We'll do it again soon, all right?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Greg Campbell, Stacey Link, Castleton Citizens for Responsible Government. They're just talking about their concerns, quite frankly, with this proposed refinery that's going to be right on the outside of town. If you've ever been to the golf course, I'm looking at a map here. It's not far from there. Your thoughts at 35270. That's the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. And, of course, the Laney studio line available as well, 237-5948. Afternoons Live is rolling on Thursday afternoon. Stay with us.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead, 5 below zero. I'm Paul Jurgens. We are under another Windshield Advisory. This is in effect until noon tomorrow. Hundreds gathered at the Bismarck Event Center today to pay tribute to North Dakota's longest-serving Attorney General, who died last week. Wayne Stenjum was found unresponsive at his home and died unexpectedly last Friday following his hospitalization. His sister, Peggy Stenjum Titus, said Stenjum's philosophy of life was to live with integrity. Stenjum's body was led by a procession of nearly 150 vehicles, most of them law enforcement vehicles from across North Dakota, all with lights flashing.
North Dakota Attorney General Unit 5, 10-7, end of watch, Friday, January 28, 2022 at 18:20 hours. The state of North Dakota is forever grateful for your public service and devotion to the citizens of North Dakota.
A number of state and local law enforcement officers attended, along with attorneys general from other states. Stenjum was 68 and planned to retire after ending his final term in office. Fargo-Moorhead's 5 below zero. You're listening to KFGO News. Five below, this is KFGO News. A man was seriously injured overnight in a rollover on a Ransom County, North Dakota highway. The State Patrol says 25-year-old Jesse Schultz of Enderle lost control of his car about a mile north of Sheldon at around 2 this morning. Schultz was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected during the rollover. It is believed that Schultz lay in the ditch for about 3 hours until he was found. He was first taken to the hospital in Lisbon and then to Essentia Health in Fargo. In addition to the injuries from the crash, Schultz was suffering from exposure to the cold. He was cited for DUI. A Halstead, Minnesota man remains in jail on assault and burglary charges after a nearly 2-hour law enforcement search in Halstead, north of Moorhead, yesterday afternoon. Norman County Sheriff Jeremy Thornton says 32-year-old Jeremy Coasty assaulted a woman in her apartment.
The victim and the suspect both, they were in a relationship they're in an on and off relationship. So they're well known to each other. They've known each other for quite a period of time.
Thornton says the victim was treated on scene and then flown to Fargo by Sanford AirMed. He says she was speaking with first responders. Coasty was arrested at another apartment building where he assaulted a man who was not seriously hurt. It was thought that shots had been fired, but Thornton says it turned out that someone lit off fireworks while the search was underway for Coasty. An Elkhart, North Dakota man has been sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for carjacking in Fargo. 32-year-old John Poitras approached someone who had just parked their pickup last March. He demanded the keys and threatened to stab the owner. Police spotted Poitras driving the pickup the wrong way on 10th Street South. He refused to stop and collided with 2 vehicles. Fargo police and the North Dakota Highway Patrol followed Poitras eastbound on 994. He was eventually stopped by Clay County deputies. Poitras pleaded guilty. One of 2 people injured in a small plane crash in McLeod County, Minnesota, has now died. Dr. Richard Jolkowski died of injuries he suffered Monday afternoon when a single-engine plane went down south of Hutchinson. The 61-year-old Centricare cardiologist was flying the plane. A 24-year-old passenger remains hospitalized in stable condition. MnDOT has announced the winners of the 2022 Name a Snowplow contest. They include Betty Whiteout, Control Salt Delete, and the Big Laplowski. The Detroit Lakes Maintenance District winner is Plowosaurus Rex. Others are Scoop Dog, Blizzard of Oz, No More Mr. Ice Guy, and Edward Blizzard Hands. Nearly 60,000 names were submitted for the second annual contest. Windshield Advisory until noon tomorrow. Fargo-Moorhead. We have turned cloudy this afternoon. Will remain cloudy overnight. Maybe some light snow, some blowing snow, steady or slowly rising temperatures. Only about 4 above tomorrow, though. Partly sunny and maybe some morning blowing snow. Saturday, 28, and then steady or falling temperatures. A mostly cloudy day, wind picking up, some light snow, maybe some blowing snow. 6 above Sunday, 27 Monday. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 5 below. Paul Jurgens, News Radio KFGO.
Rusty Halverson was slow clapping to some of those snowplow names.
Yes. Paul Jurgens' news department.
I know. See, he can deliver with such a straight face.
Yes.
Monotone. He just delivers facts.
Betty Whiteout.
Yeah. And while we're giggling like children in here. Creativity.
Yep.
Welcome back.
Yeah, you bet.
When we last spoke, we're talking about JBS.
Yeah.
Settlement, $52 million to settle litigation accusing meat packing companies of conspiring to limit supply.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where. So they're saying, we'll settle maybe closer to $53 million. Oh, by the way, I think we made a few $1 billion last year.
Yeah.
But it's a start. It looks like maybe progress. You're more optimistic than I am on all things.
You think? Well,
you think? I think you prove that every day, twice a day at least.
Okay, so here's the rundown, Tyler. Reuters News reporting that global meat packer JBS has agreed to pay $52.5 million to settle litigation accusing meat packing companies of conspiring to limit supplies. The preliminary settlement is the first in a nationwide antitrust litigation over beef price fixing. Now, lawyers calling the deal an icebreaker and excellent recovery, according to prosecutors. JBS lawyers not responding to comments when sought out by Reuters News. Now, that deal requires a judge in Minneapolis to approve it. Other defendants include Cargill, National Beef Packing, Tyson Foods. In their lawsuit, direct purchasers accusing the defendants of conspiring since 2015 to reduce slaughter volumes, creating a shortfall that smaller companies could not make up. The American Farm Bureau today sending a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland asking the Department of Justice to provide an update on its investigation into the meatpacking industry. The Farm Bureau would like to see a written update on the volatility in live and feeder cattle markets within the next 90 days. You can see the full letter that they sent to the Attorney General. KFGO.com, agriculture tab. But this, Tyler, may be the first indication of progress.
Yeah, could very well be. We'll give you this chunk of change and just let this go away. Everybody just be quiet, please. I mean, but it's something we've been asking for an update. And even the Farm Bureau calling it Department of Justice, hey, get Merrick Garland on the phone.
Yep.
Let's see the latest here. I mean, I hope that this gets turned around because it seems, of all the things that seems to be contentious, mostly political, this is one that has across-the-board support saying, got to do something with these prices.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people saying, well, it's because it's this monopolistic approach going on by these packers.
Yeah. So. Like you said, bipartisan support for these investigations. And the news comes as the Cattle Industry Convention and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is hosting their convention in Houston. I'm a little surprised, just from a personal standpoint, a little surprised that the Farm Bureau didn't come out with this when they had their annual convention a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, Georgia. But it's kind of, if you're going for the right time to talk about this stuff, this is a good week.
Yeah, it seems maybe they're chasing headlines a little bit. I'm saying that, not you. I don't pull you into those fights.
Nope.
Tyler, let's name a snowplow Rusty Ploverson.
Oh, nice.
That comes in via
Thank you.
35270. Rusty Ploverson. You've got 30 minutes to prepare for audibles today.
Okay.
Brought to you by Don's Car Wash. Provided by, though, J.J. Gordon put together this week's game.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one.
Yeah,
Very
interesting. Abby Miller's gone. She's like in Cancun or something. People already texting you who you think it's going to win audibles. That's coming up in just a little bit. Your chance to put a smile in your car and on your face. CBS National News on the way. Tanner Cherney, Devil's Lake Tourism. I will try to get to some of your messages about this development, this refinery, the proposal, and the citizens saying, look, let's be responsible with it. I will try to get to those as well. In the meantime, CBS National News on the way.